Good morning, everybody, and happy Veterans Day. Mike Tipton hanging out with you here on Veterans Day, our first daily show on the National Streaming Sports Roku channel. I'm super excited to be here. I'm glad that you are here joining me as well. I see we got a little bit of traction already going on with today's show. Just double checking, making sure all of the streams are good. Yes, they are. And now we are going to go ahead and make sure that I can get back to you guys and everything it is that I want to talk about today in the world of sports. Now, I have not hidden this fact from anybody that I am a Dallas Cowboys fan. And the Dallas Cowboys this year have been just god awful. And it's not that they're losing. It's like more the way that they are losing, right? Which is they are just not competitive in any of these games. And even the games that they've won, there's only been 3 of them. But even in the games that they've won, they've not looked good. They've looked halfway average. Last week, Dak Prescott leaves the game early because he's got a hamstring injury. Everyone's like, oh, okay, no big deal. He says some choice words on the sideline. And, we all kind of move on. We get ready for this week that we're going to face off with Philadelphia. Great game to go up against, a division rival whenever you've got your star quarterback missing. But whatever, it's okay, right? Everything will be all right. Woosah, it'll all be okay. But then now you get the news as the game was about to start for the Dallas Cowboys that Dak Prescott is more than likely going to have season-ending surgery on his hamstring because apparently it's torn off the bone, which, if he's walking around with that type of injury, that man is a monster. He is a beast. Never question his toughness because, Jesus Christ, I can't imagine how bad that must feel if you have your hamstring partially or even just a tiny bit of it off the bone. Must not feel good. But nonetheless, Dak Prescott not going to be here for the remainder of the season. Linda McGrath saying, good morning, Mike. Glad to have you on mornings. Dallas has the locker room problem. That's exactly what I was going to say. I felt like Dak Prescott needed to have some way out. There was no way going into this game versus Philadelphia that the Dallas Cowboys were going to be able to have the cohesive locker room that they need in order to succeed. We already see there's issues there. Whether there's complete buy-in with the coach, that's an unknown right now. Nobody really knows what version of the Dallas Cowboys you're going to get. It's because there's multiple versions in the locker room. You could not afford, if you were the Dallas Cowboys, to have your star quarterback that you just paid $60 million to per year over the next 4 years. You could not afford to have him say, we effing suck on camera. It's one thing if you go into the locker room and you say, you know what, guys, I'm going to take accountability on this as well. I also effing suck. I haven't been playing my best. But to be hurt and on the sideline with your hands in your jersey, just hanging out, looking over to one of your teammates and smirking, being like, we effing suck. I get it. We've all been frustrated at our job. You cannot let that frustration show. Not to anybody on the outside. To your coworkers, fine, but not to anybody on the outside. You cannot do that. And especially at that level, at the NFL, where there's a million cameras and you got to know, as a star quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, a camera's going to be on you when you're on the sidelines. You cannot say things like that. So I felt it was the best option for Dak in the locker room right now to just kind of be out, to be out of the public eye, to be out of, the scrutiny that's going to be there. Because if he's there, his teammates are going to be asked just repetitively, especially after a loss. Man, remember that time Dak Prescott said, you guys effing suck? How does that feel? That's your star quarterback. That's the highest paid person on your team. He says, you guys effing suck. How do you feel about that? Random offensive lineman who's probably dealing with injuries right now. You couldn't afford to have that. I feel like it was an easy lifeline. Like, if Dak is really that hurt, yes, go have the surgery. Even if it's not bad and you need surgery, go have the surgery, because this year, time to punt on it. If you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, and I got a whole bunch of crap this weekend because I dared to post something negative about the Dallas Cowboys as a Cowboys fan. How dare I? Oh, no. But if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, you have to be, I hope you would. I'm not going to say you have to be, because that's an absolute, and I try to stay away from those. You should be in the same boat that I'm on right now. Just tank. There's nothing you get out of this season. You're not winning a Super Bowl. You're not going to win the division. I mean, you're already, 3.5 games out of the division right now? You're not going to win the division. You would need some sort of miracle to happen if you're the Dallas Cowboys thinking that you're going to win the division. Just punt on this season. Your star quarterback is hurt. CeeDee Lamb is dealing with a shoulder injury. They were talking about it all broadcast yesterday. He's not looking the same. And then instead of starting Cooper Rush, let's see what you got with Trey Lance, because Cooper Rush is going to be another contract that you're going to have to pay, that you've already paid money into, that you could probably maybe get out of if you just have Trey Lance as your backup. Get him reps with the first team, which is what he's going to have to be with now since Dak is out, and let's see what Trey Lance has. It's crap or get off the pot time. Again, to our friends over at National Streaming Sports, I don't know what I can say, and I'm not going to cuss this early in the morning. At least I'm trying not to. But it's time to get off the pot if you're the Dallas Cowboys with Trey Lance. What do you have with this guy? Because what we saw yesterday was bad. Not near as bad as what Cooper Rush was. Just all quarterback stuff from the Dallas Cowboys was god-awful. And I got to give credit where credit is due. The Philadelphia Eagles are a very good team. They're a very good defensive team. They are, without a shadow of a doubt, what I thought they were going to be at the beginning of the season as soon as Saquon and Jalen Hurts could get on the same page. You have the NFC's version of the Baltimore Ravens now in the NFC East with the Philadelphia Eagles. This team, when they're clicking on all cylinders, is scary. Now, I know some of you are going to say, hey, Tip, just a couple of weeks ago, you said there's not a team out there that can deal with the Detroit Lions. We saw the Detroit Lions yesterday pull a miracle out of their rear end. They were able to get the win late in the game, which is just mind-blowing how bad Jared Goff played, which is strange because he was so good leading up to this week, and then I trade to get him on my fantasy team, and he throws 5 interceptions. Way to go, me. Detroit Lions fans, if it goes downhill from here, you know who to blame. I apologize. But if the Philadelphia Eagles can play like this, if they can play the way that they have over the last month, they've got a 5-game winning streak. If they can play this way through the remainder of the season, yes, there's going to be a hiccup here or there. But if they can play this way, they are going to be a team that could eventually give the Detroit Lions a little bit of an issue. I find no problems in thinking that at all. This is a great team. They have a good defensive line. They have good secondary play. They've got good linebacking play on defense. They've got a stellar offensive line. They have a quarterback who is a dual threat, who has finally been able to get the ball down the field because he has receivers that he can trust to get the ball. And now they have someone to help him out so he doesn't have to run the ball all the time. And Saquon Barkley, who just randomly out of nowhere jumps over people ass first. It's crazy to think about the amount of talent that the Philadelphia Eagles have. And at the beginning of the year, every single person would have said the NFC East is going to go through either Dallas or Philadelphia. And Dallas has not held up their end of the deal. Looking at everything the Dallas Cowboys have right now, your star quarterback's out, time to tank. Said that earlier, right? Start Trey Lance. But it's not so cut and dry, because it seems like this is the one season in a long time where the haves and the have-nots are very apparent in the NFL. Normally in the NFL, you would have an outlier that's, the 7-1 team, the 8-0 team, and then you would have the outlier that's like the 1-8 team, the 2-7 team, whatever. This year in the NFL, you have a lot of teams that are up at the top. A lot of teams that are, 8 wins, 7 wins, 6 wins, 5 wins, up in that area. And then now in the NFL, at the bottom portion of what we have, you have the Titans, the Jaguars, the Giants, the Browns rather, the Dolphins. 5 teams right there with 2 wins. Then you have Dallas, Carolina, New Orleans, the Patriots, and the Jets with 3 wins. 10 teams out of your 32 are that bad. I was racking my brain about this over the last couple of days because it is frustrating. As someone who is a Dallas Cowboys fan, it's very frustrating to see how bad this team is. And the whole weekend I've been saying, tank, just tank. It's time to tank. No one cares about the rest of the season. Just tank, just tank, just tank. But then I look at those teams there and I think to myself, are they worse than the Giants, who currently have the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft? Are they worse than the Browns? Are they worse than the Raiders? Are they worse than the Jaguars? Are they worse than the Titans? I think the Cowboys are worse than the Titans. I think the injuries, we saw Will Levis yesterday actually have a pretty decent game. I think the injuries have caught up to the Titans. Maybe now they start getting a couple of wins here and there, and maybe, something can happen with them. Maybe they become a wild card team. Are they worse than the Patriots? Are they worse than the Jets? Are they worse than New Orleans? Yes, we saw what happens whenever New Orleans plays Dallas. Are they worse than Carolina? That's a big question mark for me if I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan and I'm sitting here thinking to myself, maybe we should tank. Maybe this is the year, right? Because now, to me, it's not so cut and dry. It's not a guarantee that you're going to get the top 3 picks. You asked me this on Saturday, emotional me, I would have said, oh yeah, not just tank. You don't have Dak Prescott anymore. There's no reason for you to even try to win any more games. You're not winning a division. You're not winning a Super Bowl. You're not winning a game in the playoffs. Yesterday, emotional me. Tank it. Just blow it all up. Start trading people away. Just like there's no need to keep this team together. Me, Monday morning, relaxing, just doing my thing. I don't think they're bad enough to get a top 5 pick. Maybe they'll be on the outskirts of that. Maybe they can trade away some pieces to get that top 5 pick. But right now, what I want to see is growth with the Dallas Cowboys. I want to see growth on the offensive line. That's where the biggest struggle with the Dallas Cowboys is. It seems that you can get pressure on the quarterback with 3 because the Dallas Cowboys offensive line is that damn bad. Then I look at what this team has on the defensive side. And yeah, we saw a little bit yesterday. Again, yes, the Eagles scored what felt like a million points. But the Cowboys were able to get 5 sacks. They were able to get pressure on the quarterback because now they have Micah Parsons back. Now they have that motor to get that defense going. The back end play, the corners, the safeties, the secondary, all that's bad right now. And Trayvon Diggs, you're a part of that as well. Just silly, stupid injuries with the Dallas Cowboys, or penalties rather, with the Dallas Cowboys. And you sit here and you think to yourself, you just want to see this team get better. They get DeRon Bland back pretty soon. What can this team be defensively? Is there anything at the end of the season that you can hang your hat on and say, hey, we started off like a huge turd sandwich, but we ended the season like a turd sandwich, but just not as soggy, right? Is there any growth that you have here with the Dallas Cowboys to say to yourself, this is a positive that we can use going into the remainder of the season, going into next year, going into free agency to hang our hat on? And if I'm the Dallas Cowboys, you have to get rid of Mike McCarthy at the end of the season. It's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He has to be let go of by the end of the season. Yes, Mike McCarthy has a stellar win percentage. It's not going to be so beautiful at the end of this year, but he has a stellar win percentage in Dallas. Yes, 3 straight years of winning 12 games. He has proven that he can win in the regular season. But this team, I'm not going to say they've quit on him because I don't believe professional athletes quit. But I will say that I believe that this team is no longer playing for Mike McCarthy. I don't think that this team necessarily even wants Mike McCarthy there. We were talking earlier on, Linda McGrath had mentioned that there was a locker room division in the Dallas Cowboys. It seems like this team does not believe in Mike McCarthy because your owner just constantly keeps on saying, oh, Mike McCarthy, Mike McCarthy, Mike McCarthy. Yes, Jerry Jones isn't going to fire somebody in the middle of the season. That's just not what Jerry Jones does. He's a very stubborn old man. It's not going to happen. Should he fire him? Oh, yeah. He should have fired him a couple of weeks ago, if you're asking me. Like, it hasn't been good. But you have to take a step back and think to yourself, who are you going to hire in the middle of the season? If you're the Dallas Cowboys, do you go after a Bill Belichick? We saw what it was like for Bill outside of Tom Brady. There's a large enough sample size there to say we know what there is with Bill Belichick's coaching career outside of Tom Brady. If I'm the Dallas Cowboys, I say to myself, I've got a pretty damn good defense. Maybe another year with Mike Zimmer as a defensive coordinator, maybe they can get a little better. But then I'm starting to look at offensive coordinators, and mainly Ben Johnson up in Detroit, as that's the guy that I want to target. Look at the athletes the Dallas Cowboys have on offense. That would fit perfectly with that style of offense that the Lions are playing up in Detroit. And to me, I can't even say it with confidence anymore. I was going to say that Dak Prescott is a better quarterback than Jared Goff. I don't know if I believe that anymore. I think Jared Goff has taken another step forward, and Dak Prescott just ain't that guy anymore. Flatly. It hurts me. It pains me to say that as a Dallas Cowboys fan. I just don't think Dak Prescott is that guy anymore. But he can be serviceable. And maybe with the Dallas Cowboys, you're focusing on the draft. You get yourself a new young head coach who's got offense on the mind, who has an unpredictable offense, who has offense that is thinking outside of the box, not what Mike McCarthy has. You watched it yesterday. The very first drive with the Dallas Cowboys is pass, 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 punt. Because they don't have a running game. And I don't believe that they don't have a running game because I like Rico Dowdle. I think Rico Dowdle is a good running back. They need to just feed him the damn ball. There needs to be more consistency. If your offensive line is bad, let them just push forward. Let them be big and move forward instead of moving backwards. It's always easier for an offensive lineman to move forward than it is to move backwards. Stick with the run. Put Trey Lance in there, and now you got yourself a dual threat quarterback. I don't know if Cooper Rush really has the ability to change the defense and give the defense different looks. But if I'm the Dallas Cowboys, that's what I start focusing on. New coach, offensive line help, and a running back. Your receivers, your tight ends, your majority of your defense is good. But now is the process that I start evaluating who I'm going to keep next year, who I'm going to get rid of next year, because this year it's time to punt on the season. Whenever we come back here on the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton, we are going to talk about something that was heard yesterday on a hot mic in Kansas City as the Chiefs were facing off against the Denver Broncos. Oh my goodness. What could that possibly be? We'll find out.
Hello, everybody. Bernie Olivas, Executive Director of the Sun Bowl Association, giving a little update for the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl, which will be played on December 31st at noon at the Sun Bowl Stadium. Still too early to find out who's coming to the game, but I'll give you a little update. I get a lot of questions as to what's going to happen with the Pac-12 now that they're dissolved. Well, for the next 2 years, the Sun Bowl Association will have a pick of all the Pac-12 schools that left. So we still have access. We're going to still have access to UCLA and USC and Washington and Oregon and Cal and Arizona State and Utah. But on the other side, it's still going to be the ACC. So a lot of people have been asking the questions about now that there's only 2 Pac-12 teams, who are you going to go? Well, now you know, again, December 31st, 12 noon, Sun Bowl Stadium. Tickets are going pretty well. So don't be left out. Come by the office or go to Ticketmaster and get your tickets. We'll be waiting for you.
Get ready, Sun Bowl fans. The 2024 Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl is back, and it's bigger and better than ever. Mark your calendars. Tickets are now on sale. Whether you're a longtime fan or new to the action, don't miss out on the best seats in the house. Secure your tickets before Thanksgiving and be a part of the tradition. Last year's game was a sellout. Don't wait until it's too late. Join us on December 31st for a day of unforgettable football, family fun, and festive cheer. Visit sunbowl.org to grab your tickets. The clock is ticking. Be there when history is made.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton. Remember, we are now live on Roku as well via the National Streaming Sports app. Go ahead and download Roku, be a part of all that as well. We're also on X, Facebook, and YouTube as well. I mentioned before we went to the break that I wanted to talk about something that happened in Kansas City this weekend. And this was brought on because, as we've seen over the last couple of years, rather, maybe even longer, the Kansas City Chiefs now seem to be the team that everyone says they get the calls. The Chiefs are getting all the calls out here. And yes and no, I think it kind of balances out. Teams are going to get some good calls going their way. Teams are going to get some bad calls going their way. But yesterday on the broadcast with Fox, a hot mic was able to pick up this noise from Patrick Mahomes. Okay, so there you go. It was a thing that was like, hey, can you let me know if he's close? But if you listen in where Kevin Harlan is talking, you'll be able to hear Patrick Mahomes saying this. He ends that saying, tell me, I'll let him know. What Patrick Mahomes was talking about there was his offensive lineman. If you let that clip continue to play, you'll see that it was an illegal formation procedure penalty against the Kansas City Chiefs. This has been an issue, a hot button issue with the NFL this year, is where are the offensive linemen lining up? This has been like their main focus. We've seen it impact a ton of drives. So Patrick Mahomes is simply asking, tell me, like I'm going to look over at you, and if my guy's not on the line, I'll tell him to move up. I want this to be, I don't want this penalty anymore. That's basically what Patrick Mahomes is talking about right there. Obviously, social media is going to take that clip and run with it and say, oh, he's talking to the referee. They're colluding. They're doing all the nonsense that they want to do to try to give the Chiefs another Super Bowl win here. Ultimately, at the end of yesterday's game, the Kansas City Chiefs win. They beat Denver, blocking a field goal, which I don't know how often you've seen a blocked field goal win a game, but that's really awesome to see that happened for Kansas City. And it made me think to myself, because one of my friends messages me on Instagram, and he says, damn, not only are the Kansas City Chiefs good, he didn't use those words, he said, not only are these MFs good, but they're also lucky. And I had to think about that for a second. I don't think that he meant, lucky with what the referees are doing. At least I hope he didn't mean that. I think he meant more lucky along the lines of this team just finds a way to win. How often have we seen the game-winning field goal get blocked? Missed a ton of times, made a ton more times, blocked? I don't even know. Like, I would have to go through and try to figure this stuff out. And I probably should have done it earlier today, but you know what? I didn't. Too bad for me, right? You don't see very many game-winning field goals get blocked. And I had to sit there and think about this. Is this team good or are they lucky? And I think that they're just good. I think with Kansas City, the issue that people have is, well, they're not blowing everyone's doors off. They're not doing this. They're not doing that. Kelsey's, not performing. Mahomes isn't performing the way that we're used to seeing Mahomes perform. And I think that it comes down to the fact that this team knows what they can do when it matters. So why put your foot on the gas right now? Why not just coast? Do your thing. Treat these games as though they're practice for the postseason, because this team, for whatever reason, seems like they're just destined to win every game this year. Eventually, yes, they're going to slip up. I fully believe that there has to be a game here where Kansas City is just not going to play their best and lose, because we've seen them play nowhere near their best and win 8 straight games this year. I think going back to last year, it's 15 straight games that the Kansas City Chiefs have won, if not maybe more. I'll have to look into that as well. But I'm looking at this Kansas City Chiefs team, and I sit here and I think to myself, all the regular season is practice for the postseason. Practice for what's going to come next. And the Kansas City Chiefs, to me, are such a dangerous team because you can tell that they're not necessarily firing on all cylinders, but there's no panic there. They trust each other. You don't see meltdowns on the sideline like what you see with Dallas. You don't see the quarterback holding on to his jersey saying, "We effing suck." You don't see, players pushing each other like you've seen on other sidelines, even on teams that win. There's always, some sort of friction going on between the players and the coaching staff, or the players and themselves. You don't see any of that in Kansas City. It's just, we're getting back to work. We're just working. Oli Arena saying good morning. Good morning, Oli. Thank you for tuning into the show. She's over on YouTube. Everyone else, or she's over on Facebook, rather. We got people watching on YouTube, on X, on the Roku channel from National Streaming Sports. Thank you so much, National Streaming Sports, for the opportunity. Remember, the tipping point now, 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. Mountain Time, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Getting back to the Kansas City Chiefs. This team looks like they're just set up for winning. That's all that's on the mind of this team, is just making sure they get their wins. There's no issues. There's no locker room division like what you see in Dallas. There's no issues on the sideline like what you see with every other team. This is a team that knows we are back-to-back Super Bowl champions, looking to do something that has never been done in the history of the NFL before, winning 3 straight Super Bowls. And even though we can sit there and critique them and say, oh, they're not playing their best, they look bad, how can you barely beat Denver? I think Denver's a good team. I think Denver's going to be a good team. In the AFC West, I think Denver for the next couple of years has a legitimate shot at being the second best team in that division. Maybe every now and then they'll win a division title, just depending on, the slip-ups of Mahomes or, how Kansas City ages. But Denver's not nearly as bad as what people want to think they are. They have the pointer ticking up, right? Dallas has it ticking down. Like it's concaving down for the Dallas Cowboys. But in Denver, it's moving up. You like what you're seeing in Denver. So it's not like they're a terrible team. The Kansas City Chiefs, though, as much as I don't like saying this phrase because I don't think it happens in professional sports, but I feel like I'm watching it right now, the Kansas City Chiefs are playing with their food. They're good. We know they're good. A bad team, or a team that's not, able to fire on all cylinders, doesn't find ways to win. They have a great defense. We've seen that defense. They have arguably the best quarterback in the NFL. Is he statistically where he's been in the past? No. But think about what it has to be if you're the Kansas City Chiefs. When you win one championship, all the eyes are on you. You're their target. You are that team's Super Bowl. They are bringing their best. When you win 2 Super Bowls, guess what happens? Whenever you have the star quarterback, the face of the NFL that people think can talk to referees and say, "Oh yeah, just let me know whenever a defender's close to me." If you believe that, you don't know sports. Plain and simple. And then you got the guy who's dating the girl, right? All the storylines that surround Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. Travis Kelce's brother, Jason Kelce, all over the place now because they have built themselves a tiny little empire of podcasting and social media stuff that they do. And it seems like people are just now getting tired of the Kansas City Chiefs. It happens to winners. Everyone hated the New England Patriots because you knew they were going to be good. You knew that team was just a team of a bunch of winners. Now you're looking at the Kansas City Chiefs with that exact same angle. But the difference between the Chiefs and what the Patriots were is that the Chiefs just are. There are no outside influences. There are no speculative things that are going on with the Kansas City Chiefs. If the biggest story is, oh my Lord, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce were at a Yankees game. Oh no. Who cares? They're still winning. And that's really what matters at the end of the day is the Kansas City Chiefs are a team that just goes out and finds a way to win. Again, and just to recap to people that might be tuning in for the first time right now, I'm not a Kansas City Chiefs fan. I am a Dallas Cowboys fan. But I'm also not a fan of thinking that everything is rigged, that we can just blame everything on the referees. The referees are throwing all the flags in favor of Kansas City. It doesn't happen that way. And then hearing the audio clip that I just played earlier of Patrick Mahomes telling the referee, tell me whenever he's close. And then it gets cut off right there because everyone thinks that he's talking about the defense. Tell me whenever the defense is close. And you let the clip play just a little bit more. And he says, so I can tell him to line up correctly. What more do you need? That is the exact same thing as whenever you see a wide receiver run out to the sideline or run out to a spot, look over the referee, check with the referee. The referee gives him like a nod or a thumbs up. He's good. He checks back with the ref. I'm in my good spot. I'm where I need to be. I'm lined up where I need to be. That is basic communication on an NFL field 101. That is how it happens. Mahomes is going to look over to the referee, point to his guy, say, is he good? If he's good, he's good. If he's not, hey, scoot up. Adjust yourself. Walk up to the line, tap him, scoot up a little bit. That's just the way that communication happens in the NFL. All Mahomes is trying to do is not get that penalty anymore. Every quarterback should have the balls, for lack of a better term, to tell the referees that, hey, tell me if he's not lined up. I'll get him lined up. That way you don't have to throw the flag. We can keep this game going, and it's a good time for everybody. Every quarterback should be doing that. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see that penalty start declining now. And it's not because, oh, Patrick Mahomes was mad about it. It's because you're now going to have quarterbacks looking over and making sure that their line is lined up the way that they should be. Oh, man, I got worked up about that. I really shouldn't. It's not even a game that pertains to me. My team is garbage. I was hate watching the Dallas Cowboys this weekend. I feel like that's been my entire mantra all year. Hate watching the Dallas Cowboys this weekend. Okay, I wanted to go over and review some of the scores that we saw from earlier this week and give a little bit of my input on some of these scores right here as well. Starting on Thursday, I didn't do a show on Saturday. I've been waiting this whole time to talk about this. The Bengals fall to the Ravens in Baltimore 35-34, going for 2 instead of going for the tie. Oh, man, this is one of those things that always bothers me is whenever a team wants to go for 2. I get it. Analytics are a thing now, and you got to wonder about how these things are. And, yes, go for 2, go for the win, blah, blah, blah. Don't be a coward and kick a field goal. The percentage of people actually making it whenever they go for 2 is so much smaller than what you get whenever you kick the game-tying field goal. To me, in that situation, and I'll say it, I'll do it 100 times out of 100 times. You want to call me a coward? Fine. I'm giving my team another chance to win, a better chance to win. Yes, you go into overtime. Sure, maybe Baltimore gets a touchdown. You've also been moving the ball on Baltimore as well. You're more than likely going to answer back with a touchdown, right? Like there's so many ways that you can give your team life here, but not kicking the field goal, going forward on 2. You saw whenever the Cincinnati Bengals failed on that 2-point conversion, just the dejection all over the team as they walked back to the sideline. That right there could be a pivotal moment moving forward for this team and what they want to do in the future. I'm going to keep my eyes on what's going to happen in Cincinnati moving forward here, because the Bengals had a legitimate shot right there to get back into the conversation, to get back into maybe there's a chance that this team can make some noise in the NFC North. Instead, they go for 2, they lose the game, and everyone's gonna dump on me about this tip. Analytics say you win the game. To me, it's not being a coward if you're kicking a field goal to try to go to overtime. It's playing the game the smart way. If you're going for 2 and you know the conversion rate on going for 2 is about 42%, why would you even go for 2? Kick the field goal and have a better chance of giving your team more of an opportunity to win some games. Then the Giants and the Panthers. Yesterday on my social media, at Mr. Tipton 33 on Instagram, I always put up a story every Sunday about who I think is going to win and who I think is going to lose, right? I put a little shield there, check mark, that says this is the team I think is going to win. Yesterday, I go 9-3. Great day for your boy, right? I felt like I was doing some really good stuff right here. 9-3, feeling good about myself. But the first game starts off in London, and I have the Giants beating the Panthers because, come on, man, the Panthers are bad. I like what the Giants are doing. At least they got Tracy, they got Neighbors. Daniel Jones, maybe there's some iffy stuff right there. Side note on a weird stat that I heard earlier this week with Daniel Jones. He went basically 670 days between throwing touchdowns at home. Home game to home game touchdown, 670 games. The Kansas City Chiefs won 2 Super Bowls in the time it took Daniel Jones to throw 2 touchdowns at home. That's an insane stat to me. But nonetheless, I had faith in the New York Football Giants that they would be able to pull out the win here, beating Carolina. Instead, no. Carolina goes over to London. The Giants do well to get this game to go into overtime. They hand the ball off to Tracy, who's been doing a phenomenal job for the Giants. And on the first handoff of overtime, Tracy fumbles the ball. Carolina kicks a field goal. Eddie Pinheiro right through the uprights. Game, Carolina. You see all the fans. Actually, it wasn't in London. It was in Germany. You see all the fans in Germany going wild, having themselves a good old time. The Carolina Panthers improve their record. They get their 3rd win of the season. So I took a loss right there. Then I say, hey, I've got the Bears beating the Patriots. I like what Caleb Williams is doing. I like what the Bears are doing. They got weapons over there. New England, that's a toss-up for me. I like what I'm seeing out of Drake May, but I don't know if I have enough. And then the Patriots go into Chicago and just slap around the Bears 19-3. 19-3. If I'm a Bears fan, I am beyond despondent right now. I don't know what I want from this team. I don't know what I'm going to get from this team, just because the Chicago Bears are, to me, almost, if not more, bipolar than what the Dallas Cowboys are. Caleb Williams does have a lot of talent, but he just doesn't seem to have it working for him right now. He's got weapons. They have a pretty damn decent team in Chicago. You can't beat the New England Patriots? That's the team you can't beat? Disappointing loss there. So now I start my Sunday off 0-2, thinking to myself, it cannot get worse than this. Christian McCaffrey comes back. He's playing for the San Francisco 49ers, taking on a very hurt but game Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm a Baker Mayfield fan. I love Baker Mayfield. I think Baker Mayfield is a great quarterback. I think he got a raw deal in Cleveland, in Carolina as well. There was no help for him in Carolina. And then we see what he's able to do whenever he gets some help with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Now those guys are hurt. And he's got me and you out there that he's throwing the ball to. And yet he's still keeping this team very competitive. He's still keeping this team as a team that's treading above water. I thought San Francisco was going to go into Tampa Bay and just slap them around. You got Christian McCaffrey back. You're going to have yourself the guy that you've been missing. Brock Purdy hits Ricky Parasol for a touchdown, and then it all just seemed kind of like it was a boring back and forth, a couple of field goals here, a couple of touchdowns here. Not anything to write home about. San Francisco, though, able to pull out the win, 23-20. I'm finally up to 1-2. on the weekend. Then, of course, you had the Broncos and the Chiefs. The Chiefs with that blocked field goal. What an amazing, amazing way to end a game right there if you're the Kansas City Chiefs. The Buffalo Bills beating the Indianapolis Colts 30-20. I don't know how this was. I don't know if you're a degenerate like me. Let me start it off with that. I don't know if you're a degenerate like me. And you look at all of the gambling lines out there and you say to yourself, maybe I can go to this illegal website because they don't allow gambling in Texas, and maybe I convert crypto into money and I do all kinds of stuff to place bets here. But I see the lines where it's the Buffalo Bills, a 3-point favorite on the road against Joe Flacco and the Indianapolis Colts. The Buffalo Bills, a 3-point favorite against the Indianapolis Colts. I was pounding all the money I could on the Buffalo Bills to cover that spread. This is a good team. Them getting Amari Cooper sets them apart from the other teams in the AFC. Again, I believe it's Kansas City at the top. That's the cream of the crop right there, the Kansas City Chiefs. But the Buffalo Bills, they're solidly in number 2, and I can't even think of who a close number 2 would be compared to Buffalo. But it's maybe this team. And this team is a question mark. I got the win right there as well. So now I'm 3-2 on the day for my Sunday. Then I put money down on the Steelers. And there's something about the Steelers. There's something about Mike Tomlin. My guy Pat Costello over at ESPN is always going to say Mike Tomlin's an overrated coach. I got nothing but love for my guy. We do a show together. Bob, Jim, and Pat get drunk on the internet. We watch old school wrestling, and we just get hammered drunk. It's a good old time. But I could not disagree with Pat more on this simple fact that, yes, Mike Tomlin only has one Super Bowl win. I love whenever people say only one Super Bowl win, as if that's what's going to make or break somebody. Just the one Super Bowl win. He's never had a losing season. He's more than likely this year not going to have a losing season. The last few years of Ben Roethlisberger, where they were walking the corpse of Ben Roethlisberger out there as if it was Weekend at Bernie's, my God, if you're not old enough to get that, I feel bad for you. Go look up that movie. It's hilarious. But walking the corpse of Big Ben out there, trotting that out as though that's your franchise savior, where he had a limp noodle of an arm slinging a ball out there, to not having a real quarterback because you had Kenny Pickens out there, you had Mason Rudolph, you had Mitchell Trubisky, and I love me some Mitchell Trubisky, but he's not a good quarterback. And then you finally bring in Justin Fields, and you say to yourself, this guy can hold on. He can have the keys of the car for a little bit while we wait to see what happens with Russell Wilson. And I am going to be the first to say this because I said a few years ago that Russell Wilson was washed. Whenever he got traded to Denver, I said he's washed. And it looked really good for me that first year in Denver because he looked like absolute dog crap. But then last year happened, and he was pretty decent last year. And now this year's happened, and he seems to just have the leadership ability that the Pittsburgh Steelers need. They have 7 wins on the season now. 7 wins for a team that nobody had any expectations for. 7 wins for the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is a scary team. They go into Washington. They beat the Commanders 28-27. Washington's a really good team. Pains me to say that as a Cowboys fan, but Washington is a really good team. The Steelers get the win there. The Vikings and the Jaguars, the Vikings win a game without scoring a touchdown, 12-7 over the Jags. I'm now 5-2 on the day. And then I put money on the Falcons because I said the Saints are pretty bad, and they are pretty bad, except whenever they play the Dallas Cowboys and the Falcons, and apparently that's where they get their wins. The Falcons lose to the Saints 20-17, 5-3. The rest of the day I win, though. We had the Chargers over the Titans. We had the Cardinals over the Jets. I didn't see it being that lopsided, but man, was I happy about that. Aaron Rodgers, washed. Happy saying it. Comfortable saying it. Aaron Rodgers, washed. He's done. It's time to move on. You could have had this much production out of Zach Wilson and maybe even better production out of Zach Wilson because you would have had a younger quarterback and you actually would have given him weapons. Instead, you throw it all away on Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. You get what you deserve. You did this to yourselves. I am so happy seeing this. I sound like the biggest hater of the year right now. I am not an Aaron Rodgers fan. I think Aaron Rodgers is one of the more overrated quarterbacks in the NFL. And then, of course, I chose the Eagles over the Cowboys because I'm not stupid. I might love my team, but I'm not a dumb guy. I went with the Eagles over the Cowboys there. And then, of course, the Lions over the Texans. The Lions getting two of the closest possible field goals you can probably get in the NFL without them missing or hitting the goalpost at least. Both of them a combined maybe inch and a half away from being missed field goals. They get the one from 59 yards to tie the game, setting the franchise record for the Lions whenever Bates, who was selling bricks apparently, comes in and kicks a game-time field goal, and then on the final drive kicks a 50-yard field goal to win the game again, inching inside of the goalpost by just a little bit in order to win that game for the Detroit Lions over the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans, they're a good team, but I still think they're a step away. They just don't seem to be at the level of the other teams in the AFC right now. If I'm taking the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Houston Texans, as young and dynamic as the Texans are, and maybe they're a different team when they get Nico Collins back, but as young and dynamic as they are, I'm going to put my money on Russell Wilson. I don't know why I'm going to put my money on Mike Tomlin. I don't know why. I just believe that this team has something working for them this year. They're a really good team, and it's scary to think that Mike Tomlin is going to have yet another season where he doesn't have a losing season. And yes, maybe Pittsburgh Steelers fans are out there and they're frustrated with it. They're frustrated with only one Super Bowl win. But you also have to be able to take an inventory of what your team is and realize that the team that he has been winning games with, that Mike Tomlin has been winning games with, hasn't been a really good team, at least not for a while. Whenever we come back here on the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton on National Streaming Sports App's Roku channel, we are going to talk about the conundrum that is the Miami Dolphins and their game tonight. What's up, everybody? Mike Tipton here on a Sunday afternoon, about to enjoy the Dallas Cowboys taking on the San Francisco 49ers. And I want to let you know about my friends over at Beer Box. Beerbox.com is a place that I went to get my craft beer delivered at home. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into it. The first beer we're going to be trying is from Fat Orange Cat Brewing Company in North Haven, Connecticut. I am so mad at myself because I was just there a couple of weeks ago, and I should have stopped by the brewery and tried some of their beers, but I got it delivered by my friends over at Beer Box, so let's go ahead and give it a try. A little ASMR for the ASMR audience here. The Baby Kittens from Fat Orange Cat Brew Company in North Haven, Connecticut is a hazy IPA. And you can see right there how beautiful it is, how hazy that looks. It's got a 6.5% ABV, so you know it's going to pack a little bit of a punch. I'm not a big IPA guy, but I can't wait to try this one. I can already smell that it's going to be super fresh. So here we go. Cheers. That is very interesting. It's not super impactful like what you normally get with a lot of IPAs. I think I might be a fan. I think a hazy IPA might be the way that I'm going to start going in the future. There you have it. The Baby Kittens from Fat Orange Cat Brewing Company in North Haven, Connecticut. I'm giving that one an 8 out of 10. That is a great overall beer. So the next beer we have is going to be the Greenhouse Pilsner from Evil Twin Brewing Company in Ridgewood, New York. This is a Pilsner. It's got a 5% alcohol ABV on it, but you can see here an absolutely beautiful can. I love the artwork on that. That thing is absolutely gorgeous. I can't wait to try this one. Here we go again for the ASMR audience. Oh, that was good. Look at that thing of beauty right there from the Evil Twin Brewing Company in Ridgewood, New York. This Greenhouse Pilsner, look how beautiful that beer is right there. There we go. Bottoms up. Cheers, everybody. Man, that's good. That is phenomenal. I'm giving that one a 9 out of 10. That beer is absolutely flavorful. what you need to do to try different beers like this from different areas. You don't have to travel out of town anymore and try to find them out. All you have to do is go over to beerbox.com. It's super simple the way that it works. So here's what you got to do. Just simply subscribe. That's simple. Can't be any easier than that. It's month to month, and you can cancel any time. Obviously, you must be 21 to enjoy. Then all you got to do is get ready. The experts at BeerBox select a top-notch variety of craft beer packed, shipped directly to your front door. Then just sit back and enjoy a monthly surprise of quality craft beer from the best breweries across America. Once again, beerbox.com, that's the place that you go to order all the best craft beer throughout the United States. Get your subscription today. Must be 21 or over to enjoy. Welcome back to the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton right here on X, on YouTube, on Facebook, and of course on the Roku app via National Streaming Sports. Thank you all so much for tuning in to today's show. Before I went to the break, I mentioned that I wanted to talk about the Miami Dolphins. Now, the Miami Dolphins are taking on the LA Rams tonight in Monday Night Football. It's going to be a fun time. Everyone's going to have themselves a blast with this game. And the reason why the Miami Dolphins came to mind is because there's been a lot of talk surrounding the Dolphins, Tua Tagovailoa, what he's able to do, what this team is with him, what this team is without him. We've seen that they're bad without him. And the conception is, or the misconception is, that they're really good with him. The beginning of last year, yeah, they were world beaters. They were, 70 points that they put up on the Denver Broncos. This was a team that was offensively a juggernaut. And then something happened. I'm not too sure when it was. I'm pointing it to a loss that they had against the Tennessee Titans on Monday Night Football last year. After that, it just became pedestrian, if not a little less than mediocre, right? Like we saw the way that they lost in Kansas City, and yes, it could be, okay, that's a team from Miami going to Kansas City in a game where I believe 7 people wound up having frostbite on their nipples or something like that. Miami going to a cold place, not going to win, right? Like we've heard that a million times. Warm weather teams going to cold weather teams, they just don't know how to play in the cold. I think it's more than that. I think that teams have figured out Tua Tagovailoa, and I think that they figured out Mike McDonald as well, right? And I sit back and I look at this team and I sit here and I say, how has this team become so damn pedestrian or so damn bad, if we're just being honest with it? And I look at what they've done since last season, whenever they lost to the Titans 28-27. Tua Tagovailoa has played 9 games. We'll just do the 9 games with Tua that has been played. He has 9 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and he's been sacked 14 times. Sacked 14 times. This is a dude that's just getting hit left and right all over the place by any defense that they're playing against. It's not like they're playing against amazing teams. But you look at that stat line, 9 games, you have 9 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. That's not what you need from the quarterback position. That's not someone that you say, okay, that's who I trust having the keys to the car. And it's not like it's a small sample size, right? We're going to compare games and seasons. I did this on purpose. I chose that Tennessee Titans game because that was the 10th game of the season that Tua played last year. He had 9 games prior to that where he looked like he was an MVP candidate. And then the 9 games since then, 9 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 14 sacks. I want to give a shout out to Medusa Designs. I see she's tuned in right now here on Facebook as well. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Also, everyone else that's out there watching right now as we are currently live on Roku, on Facebook, on X, and on YouTube as well. My guy Tommy Cananza tuned in saying good morning tip over there on the YouTube channel as well. Tua Tagovailoa has not been playing well. He's not been playing what you want your starting quarterback to play at. If I showed you those, if I gave you the blind stats, just put them next to each other, put them next to any quarterback, and you saw 9 touchdowns versus 8 interceptions along with 14 sacks, you were saying to yourself, I don't want that quarterback. He just seems to have a magnet on him where he's going to get hit, and he's apparently floating the ball out there to make sure the other team has opportunities to beat you. I love a left-handed quarterback. I'm a super duper lefty guy. The only thing I don't do with my left hand is basically write. I write with my right hand for the majority of the time. There were some issues growing up in the 90s. Those people that know, you know. But I look at this team with the Miami Dolphins, and I sit here and I think to myself, I want to put money on them. I want this. You look at the names they have. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. Then you got Raheem Mostert, Devon Achane. This is a team that last year led the NFL in rushing yards along with passing. Like it was a phenomenal offense that we saw from this team in Miami. But is it really? And I think that 9-game sample I have right now is enough for me to say that tonight, I'm not going with the Miami Dolphins. Tonight, I'm going with the Los Angeles Rams, and I don't know what it is about that team. They're just like the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's something about this team where if the game is close, you kind of have a feeling that they're going to win. All right, everybody, I want to thank you so much for tuning into the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton right here on Facebook, on X, on YouTube, and, of course, on Roku via the National Streaming Sports app. Remember, Monday through Thursday, we're going to be live here at 8 a.m. Monday through Thursday, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Football season is here, and SeatGeek is my go-to for buying tickets. Now, with SeatGeek, every single ticket is backed with their buyer guarantee. We've all had plans change, and when you can't make it to the big game, SeatGeek has you covered. They're the only ticketer that allows you to return your tickets ahead of the event for credit with SeatGeek swaps. So when things come up, I know that my tickets won't go to waste. So what are you waiting for? Download the SeatGeek app to maximize your possibilities and shop live events with confidence.